This program is brought to you by Tab. We're on. Download the app today. What are you really gambling with?
Hello, I'm Caroline Searcy. Welcome to another week of Thoroughbred rehoming program, Thoroughbreds Are Go. Coming up on this week's show, we look at the sponsorships at Racing New South Wales Equim Million competition, focusing on riders sponsored by Thoroughbred Breeders New South Wales. Can a thoroughbred live happily at a major inner city equestrian centre? They sure can. And we visit former John Sargent trained Favro at Centennial Park in Sydney. And Arrowfield Studs beyond the winning post, where are they now? That's all coming up on this edition of Thoroughbreds Are Go. The recent Racing New South Wales Equim Million was a great example of the goodwill in the racing and breeding industry, with many businesses sponsoring riders, not only hoping to educate their thoroughbreds going forwards in their careers, but also potentially take home some lucrative prize money. Thoroughbred Breeders New South Wales sponsored not one but 3 riders in an event that is only going to continue to grow. Kirsten, it's been wonderful to see so many horses that have been bred, obviously raced in New South Wales, but bred in New South Wales as well, competing at Equim Million. It's just an outstanding turnout.
Yeah, I think actually the numbers are up from last year. Just on the first day, I'm seeing a lot more out and about, and the quality is amazing. Some of these horses are really impressive. They've obviously had a lot of time and love put into them. And then you've got some of these horses that look like they're just straight off the track and they're doing, their absolute best, and their riders are just giving it everything.
Yeah, so many of the studs are supporting each horse as well. I mean, we've seen a huge amount of the New South Wales leading players who are really proud to see their horses representing them here.
Yeah, I think it's pretty exciting for everybody. From our perspective, of course, we're going to try and sponsor riders that are looking for some input, but certainly you see a lot of the farms in the Hunter Valley just getting behind this. Since last year, it was a little slow burn at the beginning, and then it lifted off, and there was nearly every farm was representing a rider. Which is really great to see, and it's even extending further into business and into horse trainers. And everyone knows that training a horse off the track, or any horse, is not a cheap exercise. So any financial gain that we can give them, I think is a really good thing. And it's great for this event that they're offering this to the riders.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about the riders that Thoroughbred Breeders New South Wales is sponsoring in a minute. But overall, it's a really important thing to give these horses this opportunity away from racing, isn't it? And I think people that are, the naysayers against the industry, if they came out here and had a look at this, they'd be blown away.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, they really would be. I think, there's a lot of people who take horses off the track, as I said, and spend a lot of time re-educating them for different disciplines. This actually is just showcasing all those disciplines in one spot.
And the trainers too. I mean, we've seen syndicators like Jamie Walter, or, you see a Chris Waller, Kim Waugh with lots of horses that are competing here. And, there's so many others too. So it's become almost a kind of a tick of, doing the right thing, I guess, to be associated with it.
Agreed. And from the trainer's perspective, I think it is a good thing to label up a horse that they've trained, because it's a testament to the way they've trained those horses, that they can turn their skills from off the track into, eventing, show jumping, dressage, even show horses. So yeah, it's a real testament to horse trainers.
And the variety of what we're seeing out here over the weekend. I mean, we're focusing on the dressage today and some show jumping on Monday, but there's cross country, there's show horse, there are show horse classes, and a lot of these horses are fairly new off the track too. There's the new star category, but it's really interesting watching them being exposed to this environment because it's really quite electric out there.
Oh yeah, and some of them are hot, as you know, the thoroughbred can be in time, and under pressure here where there's so much going on. There's horses everywhere, there's people everywhere and cars, and so I haven't seen any, incidents this morning. I think they're all very well controlled. I think they're just having a great time, and they'll settle in. Like, they've got to be exposed to these things to learn what they're like. And I've even seen probably there's horses here that may not be competing, that are just here for a little day out to see what it's all about.
Well, the 3 riders that TBNSW is sponsoring, Carly Sawyer on Aldrich, who was Redamancy, and also Madeline Grist with Real Natural, or Fred, and Jamie Priestley on Cooler Downs Blue Jay. So a mix of dressage and jumping. What was it with those 3 riders that you particularly liked? What appealed to you about them?
Well, they're a good cross-section of different disciplines and different stages of the horse. Someone like Carly, who's got this horse that sold for $170,000 at Magic Millions and didn't do very well on the track. He's a magnificent looking animal. I just saw him. She's not had him long. She's doing a lot to train this horse. She's been training with Shane Rose, and she's got big dreams and aspirations. So that inspired me, that vision for what she has for herself and the horse. Maddie is a go-getter. I just met her this morning on her grey horse, and he is just lovely, and she loves him to death, and she bought him herself, she's trained him herself, and she's just here doing it for the passion and the love of it. And then you've got Jamie, who is a semi-pro, I would say. She's done very well in the junior titles across Australia and internationally. I think she's competed. So there's that different level of rider that we were trying to, sponsor a bit here and a bit there, rather than just going for the accolades of the one that's going to win. We really love to support the ones that we think need it, and also the ones that represent the breed well.
Jamie, it's quite an incredible event this, isn't it, Equim Million? So many thoroughbreds around, and it's been a big thing, a lot of riders getting sponsorship, and you have Thoroughbred Breeders New South Wales supporting you here. How did that come about?
It's amazing here actually to see how far it's come just in a year from last year. I've heard too that about 70% more numbers here than last year, so what an amazing growth that's happened in the last 12 months. And yes, I was fortunate enough to get a sponsorship with Thoroughbred Breeders New South Wales, so I was very, very lucky, and I've definitely seen a lot of support and a lot of sponsorship around for this event, which is very good. It was advertised on Facebook to apply for them, so had to be a member with them as well to we're supporting them as well. Got a very nice book with all the stallions and all the breeding and stuff from them, so that was really cool. And I applied through them, and I was lucky enough to get a sponsorship.
Yeah, is it something that interests you? Like, we'll talk about you've grown up in the equestrian world, but are you interested in the racing, the breeding side of it? Because it's so wonderful. I love seeing all the thoroughbred brands and where they've come from. Is that something that interests you, and you're finding you know more about it than you think when you're at an event like this?
Yeah, definitely. I think the breeding part of things is such a huge part. So following that and seeing, them from when they're first born to what they can grow into as well. It's very special to be able to have that connection with them from such a young age, and that's when you know them the best and they trust you the most as well. You get the most out of that and have a really special partnership.
And you're riding a mare, so tell me what you had to do, because your horse was obviously trained and bred, etc. in Victoria. Yes. So you were looking for a horse you could ride. So it's interesting the different pathways people take to be able to get here with a thoroughbred.
Yeah, so I reached out to a friend, Alicia Cochran, who'd been campaigning this horse for about 12 months now. She's owned by Reg Ryan, and she'd actually just gone back to Reg's after being out on a West run with Alicia, and I was lucky enough to take the reins for the last 3 weeks for this special event.
And tell me about working with a mare, because a lot of people don't really understand, and we've done stories with mares that have been brood mares and come back to equestrian competition. Yeah. What do you like about riding a mare?
Funnily enough, I actually prefer the mares. I feel like they are a lot more tough and strong, and they're actually going to give you more out there than just having a gelding, which I've had both, but I think that there's a bit of a more special connection there with a mare, and yeah, they just do want to give you more.
So, well, tell me how she's gone.
We just had our event this morning. She finished in 5th, which was really exciting. Just having the ride on her for such a short amount of time, but going out there into the ring, she knew what her job was, and we went out and had a bit of a go, and it was a lot of fun. Based over the 2 rounds, so you want to be consistent in the first one. I mean, you don't want to go flat out and make them flat for the second class, but you still want to finish up in that top 5, I guess, to be close for go out and jump clear for the next one.
What is it that you like about thoroughbreds? You've obviously ridden a lot of them over your time.
Yeah, so my first jumping horse when I was about 12 was actually a thoroughbred. He was from George Sheridan, and he actually did a bit of eventing, and he actually took me to Sydney Royal and jumped me clear around my first juniors at Sydney Royal. So
fantastic.
That was really special, and I was lucky enough to ride him for a few years, and he ended up retiring at our place. They really want to please, they're really tough. The ones that I've been lucky enough to ride have really loved their job in the jumping, so they've had a really good life after racing.
For a young rider, or any rider who's looking to take a horse off the track, and a lot of people see horses on the track and go, that's a really nice horse, I love that horse, or a horse in a paddock who they know is an ex-race horse. I think they just need to go for it. Bring them out, showcase them, train them. If they don't know how to retrain an off-the-track horse, go to somewhere like Team Thoroughbred that's helping horses transition off the track. As I said, the versatility of these horses is phenomenal. They can do anything and everything. Having a thoroughbred-based event like this is just fantastic. Certainly there's a lot of thoroughbreds that get around in all disciplines all the time, but having them all in one spot on one weekend, it's just a great event. We're really happy to support it.
Great support for the thoroughbred off the track, and thanks to Thoroughbred Breeders New South Wales for their continued support of Thoroughbreds Argo as well. Coming up after the break, keeping off-track thoroughbreds at Sydney Centennial Park, we catch up with Emma Cox and the former John Sargent trained Favro. While most racehorses become accustomed to stable life throughout their racing career, how does an off-track thoroughbred deal with being boxed in his new life? We caught up with the former John Sargent trained Favro at Sydney Centennial Park and one of the managers there, Emma Cox, to see how he's dealing with a thriving equestrian precinct. Emma, it's wonderful to see Favro. He's in fantastic condition. Tell me first up how he came to be with you.
So we got Favro in about March last year, and it was by pure accident that we ended up with him. John Sargent has known Steve Gladstone, my trainer, for a long time, and phoned Steve and said, look, I've got a horse that's out of a very similar mould to the current horse that Steve had, who was Heartbreaker, and he wanted Steve to go and have a look at it. So I came back from Canberra Royal with Greenspan, my small hack, and we jumped in the truck and we drove out to look at him, and Steve straight away saw him in the paddock and went, yep, that's the horse, put it on the truck. And I thought, oh my goodness me, what are we taking home? He was very rough around the edges, a bit scruffy. He had a full winter coat and he was covered in mud because there'd been a fair bit of rain, and he was spelling for an injury. So we picked him up and we brought him back to Centennial Park, and Steve and I originally intended to, the horse was originally for Steve, and then I maybe convinced Steve that I would like the horse after a bath, and he looked quite nice and put together, and now the horse is mine, and Steve works very closely with me with him.
Just some background on Favro. He's a son of Tavistock, sold by Windsor Park Stud at the NZB yearling sale, bought by Equus, and Duncan Ramage and John Sargent brought into him in partnership. He was always a beautiful horse. They do look very different, don't they, when they're scrubbed up?
They certainly do, and it took a long time for Favro to grow into himself. He was quite long and quite fine, but he really has taken the last 12 months to fill out and become a lot better and much better condition. So it's really pleasing to see him develop shape and develop new muscle in the right places based on the work that we're doing. And it's really helped him to fill into that show horse that he can be. Not there yet, but certainly on his way.
Favro's coming very late.
He's a 7-year-old now. He's had 12 starts. He won 2 and placed 2. He was a length off in Yaletown's Tulloch Stakes, 6th in Explosive Jack's ATC Derby. He then had an injury, but he certainly had an athleticism. And obviously those horses that race in stakes company and win races, that athleticism transfers to what you do.
Yeah, look, he has really obviously been a very successful racehorse, and I'm not that big into the racing side of things. So when I'm told that he's won or placed in these really great races, it's quite interesting to me, and I really do enjoy going back to watch my horses race wins and their races, because it's always amazing to see, that they can go from that race career, that really strong athletic build, into a different career, and we take them on for showing, and they thrive, and Favro has just really done that. He's jumped straight into racing as a young horse and then straight into being a show horse, and it's taken him time to develop into that, and it's taken time for him to be confident as a show horse, but we're finding now after Sydney Royal that he's just coming into his own, and we're starting to really see some progress with him and enjoy him quite a lot.
And we have some gorgeous vision from this year's Sydney Royal Easter Show. He was 4th in the lead class, competing against the likes of Hartnell. It really does create a great link between the racing and equestrian worlds, doesn't it, when we see these well-known horses at major equestrian events?
Yeah, definitely, and it was an absolute pleasure to have Fabro there this year. We started working him in about June last year after he spelled from an injury, and at Christmas time he actually fractured a bone in his leg, so we were very lucky to even have him at Sydney Royal this year, and to see him out there thriving in the atmosphere and looking the part. He handled it so well for a horse that really has not done that much since retiring from racing. We were absolutely elated. Sydney Royal for me is a childhood dream. The ribbons are secondary. Being out there is the best part of my year. I love it. I made my mother sit up there in the grandstands with me from the age of 2 and told her that I wanted to ride a horse and I wanted to compete at Sydney. So to be able to walk out there with my own horses now and look up in the stands and see young girls wanting to be there, it's really special. And to have my own 2 horses out there and Favro really giving it a good go and really working hard and showing that he's got the potential and the promise to do this was really exciting.
And you yourself, you're not from a horsey background. It makes it pretty hard, I guess, to get into the whole show horse scene, doesn't it? It just shows people can do well with thoroughbreds, even if they weren't brought up with them.
It certainly does. I am so incredibly fortunate to have amazing parents. They are the least horse people that you would meet. My dad's actually highly allergic to horses. They've always supported my dream. They've always supported my passion. I learned to ride here as a 2-year-old. I convinced my mum when I was 5 that I was ready to ride a horse, and I was obsessed with the saddle club. So that kind of got me into here, and I haven't stopped riding ever since, and they've been incredibly supportive.
And now you've gone on to become the president of the Members Club at Centennial Park, an incredible equestrian facility right in the heart of Sydney. How does the Centennial Park Centre operate for horse owners?
So Centennial Park Lands Equestrian Centre is right in the middle of Sydney. It's 15 minutes from the CBD, and it's one of the only facilities in the world that you can have horses right in the middle of the city. We have the capacity for about 200 horses here, and you've got 3 riding schools that operate and work to teach the next generation of riders. And I'm very fortunate that I've been involved now for the last 18 months as the president of CPEC Members Club, which represents the private clients, so the people that own their own horses, and a lot of them are thoroughbreds, and it's fantastic to see. We've been able to upgrade the arenas, purchase new show jumping equipment, and we actually have a brand new surface coming in the next few weeks for one of our arenas that we were able to secure through a grant. So it's a really amazing facility, multiple arenas to ride in, as well as the incredible Centennial Park lands itself. You've got 4.5 kilometres of track that you you can ride around, as well as an equestrian facility right in the middle of the park. There's nothing like it in the world, and I'm really fortunate, but it's a lot of commitment and a lot of dedication to have a horse here.
How does Favro cope with stable life nowadays?
Look, every single horse here goes on a different journey in settling in. Some of them take to it like a duck to water, and others take time. I'm very fortunate that my horses have all settled in very, very quickly. Quite often, unless there's an injury, we take them straight from the track and bring them here for their start, and then we spell them after about 3 to 4 weeks. And that's because they're in work, they're fit, they're in condition, and their brains are ready for work. So we give them a good start straight from the track, and we only do that because of the experience I've got in Steve Gladstone, who supports me, and that's the approach that we take. And it's been a very successful approach for us, but it's not for every horse, and quite often they do need a long spell before coming in here. But as with any horse, routine is so key, and when there is routine and consistency for them, they thrive. And Favro just loves the attention he gets twice a day, every day. He is absolutely spoilt rotten. Any carrots, apples and everything you can think of that he wants, he gets. And his personality certainly has come through, and he is quite the character that we see every day, which it shows how happy he is being here. I'm very fortunate that Steve is here, and he's an incredible horseman who's been involved in the horse industry for a very long time. He rode stunt work in the Far Lap movie and trained very closely with Heath Harris on a number of films over the years, and his knowledge and expertise in taking horses from all backgrounds, but particularly racehorses off the track, is so key. And I think without that guidance and expertise, I know that I wouldn't have been able to have the success that I've had. And Favro hasn't been an easy horse. He has taken time to adapt to life, and it took me time to trust him. He's probably the most challenging horse I've ever had post-racing, but he has just come into his own now, and I trust him so much, and I'm having so much fun with him. And that's because a lot of the work Steve does with me in making sure that not only is the training that we're doing correct and very basic, but it's also interesting for the horse. We don't do the same thing every day. We keep it really interesting so that he's never bored, and he's always looking for that next thing to do. It's a really great takeout, isn't it, to see racing owners getting so much joy from their ex-racehorses. Yeah, Jennifer and John reached out to me after Team Thoroughbred New South Wales shared a post of Favro, and they are just so delighted with him being involved in the show horse industry. And they actually met Favro at Canberra Royal this year, which was lovely, because they said that they hadn't been able to meet him in the flesh because COVID was most of his race career, so they were kept aside. So they got to come up, they got to pat him, they got to feed him, and just see how well he's transitioned to life, and they're regularly in contact, which is amazing. And I'm happy to keep them updated, and I love that they're involved, because it was a special horse for them on the track, and still a special horse for them now. Favro's certainly looking magnificent, and well done to Emma for the care that he's receiving. Coming up after the break, a horse model in Arrowfield Studs beyond the winning post. Where are they now? James, usually we talk to the end user, as it were, in this segment, Beyond the Winning Post, Where Are They Now? But we're going to talk about a horse and where it all began. For 1 Inch Punch, the son of Teofilo, who's now 14. We filmed him with Holly Penfold, riding him in some of the top-level off-track thoroughbred competitions. But it all started here at Bowness Stud, didn't it, for this horse?
It did. I remember him well. We were prepping him as a yearling and as a foal, and he was a very nice horse, and we ended up taking him up to the Magic Millions to sell. So he went to Anthony Friedman at that time, $70,000 through Magic Millions. But I guess the story since then, and as I said, won the 6 times out of 34 starts, and won over $200,000, so he was no starch on the track. But the fascinating thing now, as well as the show jumping, is he is now almost the face of Magic Millions, isn't he? Yeah, it's fantastic to see him being that sort of a horse. It's given him a great life and some purpose, and it's very good for us to see our horses doing such great things off the track.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realise that they're actually thoroughbreds. So you see them with Billy Slater or with whoever happens to be the ambassador for Magic Millions, you know, through the years. It's a really good thing for these horses actually to be off the track thoroughbreds, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Like it is good to see them move from racing to something like that. And obviously he's got a great owner in Holly, and she's made him available to the Magic Millions to do that. And yeah, he's an amazing ambassador and also a model.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, he models beautifully, doesn't he, alongside Billy? Yeah, they make quite the pair. But it's an important thing. We often, when we're filming at these shows, the off-track thoroughbred shows, you notice the brands on these horses. And it's great to see that it means something to the studs that have bred them, to see them happy and healthy in future careers.
It does mean a lot, and you wish that for all your horses if possible. But it's definitely nice to see those ones come out and do some great things after racing. We really work with them now. There's a lot of methods that get them to really warm to you, and I think I can really see that coming through in the last 10, 15 years, and it's only getting better. Horses that are a result of that are really showing it off the track. They're really versatile in the way what people can do with them. They're jumping, they're eventing. Some of them are companion horses and some are models, like Bruce.
That's all for this week on Thoroughbreds Are Go. Join me again next week as we look at the important role of the coach in assisting people taking on thoroughbreds away from racing, as we visit leading Australian event rider Jess Summerfield at Wildfire Equestrian. That and much more next week. I'm Caroline Searcy. I look forward to seeing you there.
This program is brought to you by Tab. We're on. Download the app today. What are you really gambling with?